Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife review for you. And today we're taking a look at the Civivi Exarch. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful knife. I love this design. It's probably it's certainly in like the top five of my favorite Civivi designs. Probably not in my top five Civivi knives just because it's a little small for me, but this design was so compelling that I just had to pick one up and check it out. And look, guys, it's a Civivi. The construction is good. I mean, it's it's a little small for me, but I've got to say this is a pretty impressive, pretty cool little knife. Clean, interesting design, hollow grind, front flipper, great action. Lots to love about this guy. So let's hit it off. Start it off with size and weight. 7 3/8 inches overall, 3 1/4 inches on the blade length there. 4 1/8 on the handle, 3 3/4 grip area, which is crazy, guys. Consider the Para 2, okay, which is so much bigger, has less grip area than this knife, and that's notable. So I have to say, oh, and it only weighs in at 2.6 ounces. So let me say, very, very impressive size to utility ratio. This is a slim, unnoticeable knife. You put this in your pocket, you literally don't even know you have it, but you've got a substantial blade here. You've got lots of real estate for your fingers in a very, very small, very, very carryable package. So size and weight, well, it's a little too small for me. I think they've done a great job here, and I know many, many, many of you watching this will love this knife because you've already told me that you do. In fact, a number of you have asked me about this long before I ever owned one myself. So yeah, small, easy to carry, but very, very nice. Blade here is going to be D2 with a satin finish and a hollow grind. Look at the grind lines. I really, really like this blade a lot. I will complain about one thing. So the hollow grind I love. This is super thin behind the edge. Very, very slicey knife. And for those reasons, I just think this is a huge, huge win. It cuts like crazy. Not super thick blade stock. So when you combine thin blade stock and a hollow grind, it just, it cuts like a lightsaber. I really, really enjoy that. The one thing I'm going to complain about, and it's not going to be the size of the blade. You guys know I normally like bigger knives, but I knew this size going in. So the one thing I'm going to complain about is the D2 steel. Not that I dislike D2. D2 is a great steel, but it's everywhere. And I do kind of wish, especially in the summer, I think I mentioned to you guys, I had a knife that got a little bit of rust on it that was in D2 because it's just so hot and so humid that it's like in my pockets is just like a greenhouse. Okay. I sweat easily. And so you're outside doing a little bit of work and I've pulled more than one knife out of my pocket over the last few weeks. It's like the middle of summer here now, and found the whole knife just covered in condensation from me sweating. Now, when the knife is S35VN or S30V or all kinds of different options, I don't even give that a second thought. However, when it's D2, I have to be thinking about that. And I've got to make sure that, if I do a bunch of work and get all sweaty, that I take my knife out, I dry it off, I clean it up a little bit. And that's not my favorite thing to have to do, especially, to stop in the middle of the day and do that. So if this were 9CR 18 MOV, a great steel with very, very good edge retention, I would like this knife even more. As it stands with the D2 steel, great steel, completely happy with it. Just, it's kind of everywhere. And it seems like the overseas manufacturers have decided that D2 is like the go-to steel for the US market. And I kind of wish they'd move on to something else. All right, but other than the D2, which is good steel, I'm just, over it. I think this blade is fantastic. Let's move on to the action. We've got a very accessible liner lock here. This knife is on bearings and a very comfortable, very fast front flipper. Of all the front flippers I've tried, this one is very intuitive. Didn't take me a long time to figure out how to flip this open. Didn't take me a long time to kind of reposition my hand or anything like that. And I've had that experience with a few front flippers before. I can even do it left-handed. That deserves a round of applause, I think, because I'm, definitely a strong righty. So, action, it's on bearings, Big surprise, a Civivi knife on bearings is really, really nice. I had no idea. Of course, being a Civivi, we're used to them having excellent action, really nice detent, and this one is no exception. Okay, so there's not a lot to say there. It's a liner lock on bearings from Civivi. I think you kind of know what you're getting in that regard. Let's move on to the handle, and there are a couple of points to talk about here. I've got to first note the construction. They've done this really nice job of milling out these liners to save some weight. We've got a G10 backspacer. Now the lanyard hole, come on, focus you, is incorporated into the backspacer, and it's small. I don't know if you might be able to fight some 550 cord through there, but it would be a fight. You'd certainly have to strip it out first, and then you might be able to do it, or I guess you could go with bankline or something like that. Outside of, so we've got the liners. We talked about the lanyard hole. Very nice grippy G10. I definitely appreciate that a lot. The one thing I will say, oh yeah, we've got a movable clip here, left or right tip up carry, but notice the screws are not flush. Now, having carried this a bit, most of my pants have not caught on those screws, so while I don't hate it, I still would prefer to see these as flush screws, and Civivi often gets that right, so it's weird that they didn't in this case. Kind of too bad. Last point I've got to make is about ergonomics. So this knife is quite small and it's not super hand filling, which means, this is not the knife I want to take out to skin an animal or, to have this on me in some kind of a defensive situation or something like that. That's not ideal. It's small. It's not as hand filling as I'd want for some kind of big, heavy work project. Okay. But this knife is not designed to be that. This is designed to be sort of a light duty EDC, like similar to the Benchmade Bug Out or others like that. And in that regard, it's fantastic. It's comfortable for the kind of cutting it needs to do. All right. Now let's get to some comparisons. Okay. And look, guys, when it comes to liner locks with D2 and G10, I mean, they're so rare that it's really hard to come up with knives that are similar, right? This one is obviously much bigger, but very, similar story. The Feldspar, again, is similar type of philosophy. Even, any number of best techs we could talk about would all be, sort of a similar thing. Great action, D2 steel, liner lock, all that kind of stuff. So there are lots and lots and lots of options out there. One that is pretty close, and I actually had these two in a video not that long ago, was the Kershaw Tumbler. The Tumbler is cool in that it's, comparable in that it's a similar size. Again, a very interesting design, but this one's got the subframe lock, which I do like quite a bit, and they've done the pocket clip a little different. So I have to say I'm pretty darn impressed with the Tumbler, certainly equally impressed as I am to this guy, and I like this knife a lot. Okay, so those are a few comparisons for you. I guess the one other knife I had already out here is the Para 2, and you can see the Para 2 is kind of the size that I like a knife to be, and so that kind of shows you, why this is just a little small for me. And if this were larger, this would be going in the permanent collection for sure. As it stands, I'm probably going to move this on to make room for other things to review. Overall, this is another cool knife from Civivi. Fantastic design. I think this is one of the nicest looking knives Civivi has done. Absolutely beautiful. Yes, it's a little bit too small for me, but so many of you, I'm sure, are going to love this. It carries as if it's basically not even there. The action is fantastic. The steel is good enough. The materials are what we would want them to be at this price point. I mean, there's nothing that I can really complain about here. This gets an absolute recommendation without hesitation. Like, this is such a nicely done knife. There is a flipper version available if that was of interest to you, and I can't remember the name of it. I remembered it when I did the first impressions on this a little while ago, but for this one I can't. The Exarch and the Chronic. The Chronic, that's the other option here. Anyway, there's really nothing that I can complain about here. Really nice knife. I'm so glad I got to check this out, even though, it is too small for me and I'm not going to keep it long term, but such a nice knife and really, really another great option from Civivi. And it seems like, yeah, they come out with a few models that I'm not interested in, but boy, they do a lot that I'm really, really excited about. So if you want to pick one of these up, use my discount codes. I don't know if they have any at White Mountain Knives now, but they do stock them pretty regularly. You can save 10% with the Sharp Stuff discount code there. Otherwise, you can check over at Southern Edge Knife Works. Again, Sharp Stuff discount codes 15% for there, and hopefully you'll have some luck finding it in either place. If not, I guess Amazon or something like that. And if you I don't know, I'll see if I can add this to my Amazon store as well. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.